recording already? Okay, all right. Get two breads and yeah, we're gonna get started here pretty quick.
Norma, can you see the attachment in the chat? Are you able to open that? My computer.
Yes.
Email.
Camera's there. All right. Go a little bit closer. Let's see.
How's the mic there?
Who's there? Norma, Larissa.
Okay.
Okay, Larissa, good. Good. Good, you can join us. We have two. Where's everybody? Still having supper. Forget about Monday night football. Think about Monday night Blackfoot. Okay. Okay, so, hey, you can see Larissa. Hello, Larissa.
Okay.
Glad you
good
can join
weekend?
us again.
I'm very excited.
I got my,
And I've picked up I picked oh wait, you can't see this. The Blackfoot
third
dictionary
edition?
is it is the third edition.
Third, good, good. Yeah, that's the one. Well, that's a good spelling. There's a grammar book that comes with that. It's black. It's paperback as well. It's not a very thick book. It's kind of like what they try to do. That what they're doing is they really try to make the Blackfoot language like an English type of teaching, right? You got your grammar, you got your text, and your all kinds of rules they want to go by. I don't want any rules. I just want everybody to understand Blackfoot and start speaking it. Never mind the rules. No, just kidding. Grab.
Copy.
Of course, Sue's here. There's Sue. Once again, yep. Norma and Larissa. Yeah, that book is going to really help you with some of your spelling. Just be, Larissa, some of this. The combinations in there, like the TSIs, the tss, tss, okay. The KSI combination is X, X. When it was a TSII, it's a T, C. Remember the two I's make an E sound? Same with the KSII. Xi, Xi, right? Daniel and Gabriel. Are you new to us? First time, Daniel, Gabriel? Yeah?
We were here last week.
Were you here last week?
From
okay.
Okotoks.
Oh, Okotoks. Okotok. Ha ha ha.
Okotok. The kids are now running around calling their Nina Gainagwan. They think that's hilarious. And calling me Napiaki, so I like that.
That's neat. That is so great. Yeah. Oh, that's who we are. That's the language that speaks the language, and that's the description we give the white man, Napikwan. Okay, we're gonna just wait a few more minutes here, and I'm sure we're gonna have some more people joining us in maybe in progress, but this week in particular, beginning, today and all week leading up to Saturday, they're not celebrating, it's National Reconciliation Day, which is Saturday, which is the Orange Shirt Day, right? But a lot of the organizations in the city here in Lethbridge, particularly the schools, it's an all week event. So any time this week, anybody can wear their orange T-shirts to school. Some of the organizations like the university are gonna have something on Thursday, and we're gonna be part of that myself. The college is going to be having one too, Lethbridge College, and the city of Lethbridge. The city administration and that they had an event today to begin the reconciliation. Of course, we all know what this is all about. Residential schools, right? The survivors of the residential school system that was in Canada. Those people who are survivors, like myself, I don't know if I shared with you this, but I am a survivor of the residential schools. I went there as an 8-year-old, yeah, in grade 4, and I spent 3 years there from 67 school year, the fall of 67, to the spring of 1970. Yeah, that's how long I spent. The old St. Paul's School here on the Blood Reserve. Yeah, that's where I went to school. Yeah, and it's the people that went to those schools and they're still around, like they're still here. And the generation before me, like our parents, some of them are still here. Listen to their stories. I think some of their stories are more about the atrocities that happened to them. My generation that went to school, that it wasn't as harsh, I think. Well, I don't think when I say harsh, it was in a sense harsh because you were away from your parents, for weeks or months at a time. You don't get to see your mom and dad for a really long time. And that was probably the biggest thing for me of not seeing my parents for that amount of time. Right till Christmas. I don't know when school year, we didn't see my mom and dad until Christmas. We spent the weekends there because it was so far for them to come pick us up. So we just stayed there Friday, Saturday to Sunday and start school again. Yeah, so that's National Reconciliation and that. And of course, the orange shirt kind of commemorates that. We all know the story of a young student. I think it was a female student. Sue, do you know the name of that person? She's still around. She was able to share her story about how she went to school, residential school. She was just so proud of an orange shirt that she wanted to wear for school. And then, of course, it was brought in there into the school. I'm not too sure as which community, but so a little girl was so proud of her orange shirt. When her parents left, the staff at the school literally tore the shirt off her back. You can't wear that shirt here. He was punished for it and so forth. And yeah, that's. Oh, hey, we got company. We got company. Nadine's here. Come on in. That's our handout for today.
Okay.
Yeah.
You just fill this, Jack.
Hey, good to see you.
Yes, you
Yes,
too.
yes. You guys doing anything special in school this week?
No, actually we had our last week, remember we had our Indian summer.
Oh yeah, that's right. Native.
Yeah.
That was
So
good.
we had Buster the Buffalo come and visit.
Yeah, I've seen that. I've
And
seen
then
him.
we have a brand new teepee that was made for the school.
It's got a
and
new
so-
design.
Not a design yet.
Oh, okay.
It's just a plain one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then we brought the students out and they watched them pitch it up.
Pitch it up, wow.
It was really good, yeah.
No petting zoo, no powwow, but just,
No, not.
I know, because
Nothing
usually
formal.
during that event, they usually have a princess pageant leading up to the powwow that Friday.
Mhm.
So that kind of changed a little bit, but yeah, love that. Anyways, Orange Shirt Day. I don't know if they have any more shirts here at the project. I picked this up here, Nadine.
You can grab a shirt after.
Okay, yes.
Yeah. They're up to 3X if you need one for anybody that needs a 3X.
Right, yes.
Yeah, with me, I'm quite there. This is 1X. I need to get down to a medium. So last week we talked about the people that speak the Blackfoot language, and we talked about Blackfoot is not a name that was given to us, and that's not a name that we gave ourselves in that, the Blackfoot people. And we spoke about how, Lewis and Clark, as they were coming, it was the people that they spoke to down in the Dakotas and that, asking what's the group of people that are going to be going into the next area. They knew that there was some Rocky Mountains. So who are those people below the Rockies then? So the people of the East, Dakotas, some say it was the Mandan, and some say it was the Arikara, and then, just through storytelling, right? And then some say that, no, it was the Sioux, so who knows? But it was a different group of people that gave us, the name Blackfoots and that, and through the memoirs of those individuals, that's what they put. Oh, we're going to be running into the Blackfoot people. But within ourselves and that, we already had names for each other. Each group of people that shared the same language, we had names for each of these groups of people, right? And we talked about that, right? Siksika, the people of the Siksika North and that. When you think about the territory of the Blackfoots and that, they figure it is all the way down into the South Saskatchewan River, which is just a little bit south of Edmonton, right? All through there. You go into the Saskatchewan area, so they must have occupied that area, right? So, and then further east, of course, were the Kaina, the same Blackfoot speaking people, the Kaina, were down east. And right here in the foothills, we had one, what we call the Pikani, right? Which further separated them with the 49th parallel with the United States. They are now the Amskapi Pikani, and up here, the Apatusi Pikani, the northern. And each of these groups of people, right? We all spoke the same language, and it all had a very distinct cultural or characteristic of who they were. Of course, Gaina, which means the many chief people, that's something the characteristic of maybe the groups of people amongst themselves. Was it the six guy that Bigani that visited this area? And they noticed, oh, there's something very, unique about, these people, and that they have a lot of leadership, right? They have a lot of what they call nina, chiefs, so they must have just said, okay, this is something that's unique to them. They're called the Gaina. So the other two groups gave us that name, Six Ga. And then we went up to Six Ga, and then we noticed, the black moccasins that they were wearing. And one of the two groups, either Pigani or Gaina, gave them that name of Six Ga based on, on their moccasins. And the Pigani, we gave them the name, not we, but one of the two groups gave them the name Pigani because of the garments that they wore, right? Little bit of scabs on them, the Pigani. Or we might have been, another story has it that, there was a lot of rips in their garments and that, right? Some will say, oh, they were called the poor road people. It doesn't really say poor. Pigani is not poor. When you say B, I've seen these pants that you can buy now, Levi's, they're already ripped, right? You can buy them, and they're like $100 or $200 jeans, but they're all ripped, right? Well, you call those B, escape B, you know. So when you say B gunny, that's another way of saying that. You know, maybe their garments were a little bit ripped, you know, and not sewn together and that. But you want to think about the foothills and that, they must have been, you know, in and around the where the mountain regions are, walking through the, you know, the brush, you know, getting snagged on there. They might have ripped the net. And who knows, that's what happened, right? So we call it the B gunny, scabby robe, or the ripped up garment people in that, right? Based on what they were wearing. But each three groups, now fourth in the Abscapi Gunny, we call ourselves the Blackfoots. That's not what we call ourselves. We are called, this is the word. Collectively, we don't call ourselves the Blackfoots. We are the Nitsitapi. Did you all see that? Did you see this? Nitsitapi. It's a compound word right here. The Nitsi right here. It's kind of like it's the word we use for something that's true, right? This is my left and that's right, right? That's something absolute. It's real. Nitsi, right? Is there a Santa Claus? No, maybe not. But something that's absolute truth is Nitsi. This part here is called Matapi. And that's what we call people, the word we use for people. Matapi. Two words, Nitsi and Matapi, which creates a compound word of Nitsitapi, which means the true people of the land, right? This area that we call Southern Alberta, or this area, we are the true people, right? We are the one people, or the people, Nitsitapi. That's the name that we give ourselves, not Blackfoots. Amongst ourselves and that, oh, he's a Pikani, he's a Siksika, he's a Kaina, right? Within ourselves, within our language. And that's what we call all Indigenous people everywhere, Nitsitapi. If you're from Quebec, when we come across some of the Quebec people that were Indigenous, we'll say, oh, Nitsitapi. They are the Indigenous people of that area. If I go to Oklahoma and I run into a Comanche, I won't call that person. I'll say, oh, Nitsitapi. He's one of the original people of the Oklahomas, right? That's what we are. We are the true people of this area. Nitsitapi. That's what we call ourselves, okay? So make that note. It's a compound word, true, and this is the word matapi. Let me just spell it big. So anybody, we call them Nitsitapi. If you're from the Tsutsina, you're a Nitsitapi. If you're from the Musqueam area, you're a Nitsitapi. We are those indigenous people of those areas, right? Now, my grandfather, we traveled one time to California way back in 1980, and he was just amazed at the people now. Oh, Nitsitapi, right? You know, the people that they don't have winters. They just found that amazing. So Matapi, people. That's you and I. We're all Nitsitapi, right? Sioux and everybody that's watching here, that's First Nation Nitsitapi, right? We are all true people of our lands, right? So to speak. We always have these now land acknowledgements, and then I was looking at it in a sense. When we say land, we say ksachku, the land, and that, right? But when we say our home, you know, where we live, you know, the area we live, we say Lidauchsen, which is a different word than, you know, the land, right? It's ksachku, it's my land. Lidauchsen. And if you look at that word, I need to research it just a little bit to that. It almost has that sense of where you live, Lidauchsen, right? Is the place that provides the necessities for you, right? When you think about the dogs and that, we think about, okay, well, this land here provides me with my three basic needs: food, shelter, and of course, clothing, right? The dogs, and this is, you know, so in the land that we live in, right? Of course, ksakku, but further to that, this is ours, and this is what provides us with my clothing, and it provides me with my basic needs to eat, and of course, my shelter, right? The three basic needs in that. And I think that's what that means, is that this is the land that we live in, gives me all my necessities, right? Which is the ini, right? When you think about, yeah, which is very neat. An old Blackfoot word that's, we still use, well, many dogs, right? When you think about the word, it didn't say this is my land, and then this is the area that provides for me, right? This area that gives me the three basic needs. And then, of course, the animal that it's extinct almost, just a few hundred of it exists, the E&E, the buffalo. So does that make sense? Huh? Okay, so here's a new word, nitsitapi. We are all nitsitapi. Anybody that's indigenous to their areas, whether it be Saskatchewan, Manitoba, and so forth, and that, they're all nitsitapi. They are all the people of their area, right? Of their lands and what, and of course BC. Whether you're plateau, whether you're Plains Indian, or if you're coastal, you are Nitsitapi. You are the true people of that area, Nitsitapi. Okay? Any questions? Raise your hand. No, just kidding. Who do we got? Where's the rest of the gang? They're all watching football. We're all watching news. Okay. So, did everybody get the new material for tonight's lesson? Everybody?
Yes.
Everybody? Yes? Daniel? Norma, you all got the stuff that we're going to talk about tonight? Yes? Thumbs up? Sugapi? Yeah?
Yes,
Norma?
copy.
Sugapi? Daniel? Gabriel? Yeah?
Yeah, we got it. Thanks,
You got it?
Sue.
Okay, good. All righty. So, our handout is right over there. And we're going to do genders. We're going to do genders today, and we're going to kind of expand on how this works, okay? And there's different meanings, and there's a certain word I want to go through in that. Okay, so our first word for tonight is akikuan. Say that. Akikuan, which is a girl, right? Those of you who had daughters, who had just had babies and that, the first thing they'll say, is it a boy or a girl? It's a girl, okay? Our word for that is akikuan, right? My firstborn was 1981, and she's 41 years old. When was she born? If she's 41, when was she, what year, 80 or 81?
83.
No, not 83. 82. In 1982, I had my firstborn, and that was the person that told me, is it a boy or a girl? Akikuan. Akikuan. She's a girl. That's the word we use for a girl, right? Anybody that's in the elementary, right? And I think they do that in the schools, over the bathrooms, rather than saying, this is the girls' bathroom. Akikuan, right? You go to the boys' bathroom, they'll say this word. Now, this is your first time you're going to use your guttural. Remember, our H, you see the H is going to come right from your throat. Right? Okay? So, akikuan, everybody, akikuan. Is anybody in here to akikuan? No, we don't have any little girls here. Akikuan. On the opposite side is sakkumapi. Sakkumapi. Sak, like that, right here. Sakkumapi, which is a boy. Sakkumapi, right? A boy. So you go to the hospital and your daughter's just having another baby, and then they'll say, "Oh, was it a boy or a girl?" Sakkumapi. It was a boy. Yeah, okay. Sakkumapi. Right here. Sakkumapi. That's your first sound in our language. Sakkumapi. Okay? So, akikuan, 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 sakkumapi. pi, Sakumapi, 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 boy and a girl. And I think there's some of the schools that I've attended, visited in the Treaty 7 area, Siksika, Pigani, they do that. You go into the schools, and right above their signs, they don't say girls, it says Akiko. You go to the boys' bathroom, right over there, it says Sakumapi. So they're already starting to make those changes, and it's safe for you that way. Nadine, do you know if they
I
put
think
the?
they are, yeah.
Yeah. So, all these schools are starting to do that. Hey, we have an Akik one right there. And a Sakumapi, right? Hey, there's a Sakumapi right there and Akik one. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Akik one and a Sakumapi. And we all, further to that, we do have words for a baby. It's not in here, but we're going to include that. Okay. So those are our first two words. Let's do them. Okay. When you say Akikuan, we're thinking about that little girl right there. Okay. Akikuan. Say that. Akikuan. 3 syllables. Akikuan. Akikuan. Close your eyes. Akikuan. Akikuan. Hey. And then Sakumapi. Sakumapi is a boy. Sakumapi. Sakumapi. Yeah, good. Those are your first 2 words. Actually, this is our 3rd word. Remember, it needs to be. Okay. Moving along. We're going to do the female and the male. Okay. Let's do the easy one. A female, a woman, is a Aki. 2 syllables. Agi, not Aki, Agi. Okay, Agi. In here we have Sue, and we have Nadine, and we have Larissa over there. We have Norma, and Gabriel. All of you are Aki. Okay, point to yourself. Aki, right? Aki. No, not me. Point to yourselves. Aki, and then you go like this. Both your hands go down like that. Aki. That's the signal for Aki. Yeah. Aki. They were saying, it's from Picani. Aki, Picani. Very pretty. Okay. So that's a woman. Aki, right? So think of Aki as yourselves, right? Okay. Our next one, now this is where the Blackfoot needs the culture of the people changes with this word and that. When it was saying Nina, we're talking about, of course, a male, myself, I'm a Nina, right? But also to that effect, and it's an old saying or it's a word that we've been used for male, but it's also used for your leadership, right? Okay. When you look at the word Gaena, the suffix of that word is actually Nina, Gaena, right? The old word goes like Gaena. That was the original word. They're from Gaena, means a lot of chiefs, many chiefs. The na is actually the suffix of Gae, many chiefs. So Nina is actually our way of saying the leadership, right? So every household has a Nina, a man, but further to that, we have a leader within our camps. That's a Nina. We also have a leader within societies. We also have leaders, maybe of this war party, or there's another leader that has, that they're all Ninas. Okay. Who's the mayor of the city here? Yeah, the city of Lethbridge. What's the mayor's name? I don't even know the mayor. So a mayor of townships, Lethbridge, Calgary, they would be Ninas. If you are a woman, an aki, okay, then you have a leadership where you're a CEO, you're a mayor, or a director of a, you would be called a ninawaki. We put the two
Minowaki.
word ninawaki. So we put the word leadership, nina, and aki put together. And you call that person that's a CEO, ninawaki. Okay? A female leader, a female chief, a female, somebody who's taking up a leadership, right? When I think about somebody who's a leader, just a few years back, Lethbridge College here had Dr. What was her name? No, I know her last name was Burns, but I'm not too sure it was Deborah Burns, but she was the president of the college. So she would be a ninawaki. Okay, here's a prime example, the dean. Now the dean works in a school, an elementary school that has two principals that are female. Okay, Marie Shade is the overall principal. She would be Ninawaki. Yeah, Ninawaki. She would be the leader of the, the principal of the school, right? She's a leader. She's the, of course, I think Calgary has a mayor. She's female, yeah. So she would be a Ninawaki, right? A female leader. So what we did is we took the Nina, which has a leadership, Aki together, create a female leader, Ninawaki. Trying to think of, oh yeah. Queen Elizabeth, right? He was the head of state. We see him on all our Canadian dollar bills, our loonies. We call the Queen Ninawaki. And that's what we call her, Ninawaki. It's Tipikini, you had the crown. It's Tipikini, Ninawaki. Yeah, so anybody that takes that leadership, either you're a man, you're a Nina, right? Who is your Nina? Well, I am in my house, but overall, who's the leader? Well, we have a leader. His name is Roy Fox. He's our Nina, right? And Tsutsina has Whitney.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait,
Yeah. So that's their Nina, right? Then Pikani has Troy Knowlton. That would be their Nina, like their chief, right? Siksika has Ray Crowfoot, and he's their Nina. Lethbridge has their mayor. I don't even know who the mayor is here. I don't keep up with politics in the city, but I think it's a man, so he would be a Nina, right? The leader, the mayor. So anybody that's a mayor, of course, who's our premier, by the way, of Alberta?
female.
Is it a female?
Yeah.
It's not Jason Kenney anymore, right?
Yeah.
No. What's her name again? Is it that NDP? Who's-
Danielle Smith.
Oh, Danielle
he's-
Smith.
Danielle Smith.
So Danielle Smith, the premier of our, our province, would be a what? Say it. Ninawaki. Ninawaki. Yeah, she would be a male leader. Right?
A nappy glun.
Well, yeah. She's a
Nappy
Napiaki.
glun.
Yeah, she's a Napiaki who happens to be
Oh,
a leader.
Napiaki.
Yeah, Napiaki. Napikwan is white man.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Well,
A Napiaki is a white woman. Right? You remember what the story is behind that?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's a real Napiaki.
There's Napiakis and then you have real Napiakis. Yeah. Yeah.
You
Anyways,
have
so she would be somebody that we would call a Ninawaki.
Napiaki.
Yeah, a Ninawaki. She's very a leader. And of course, our prime minister, I know Justin Trudeau would be our Nina, right? He's our leader, our Nina, our prime minister. So all these roles and that, right? When you think about the Nina, yeah, it's a male, but it's also our leader, our leaders and that. Roy Fox and anybody that takes those leadership roles. When we say our chief and council, we just say Ninex, right? Which means, the men leaders, right? That's what we call our chief and council, Ninex. plural.
If it's
right?
a mixed gender group on council, would it still be Ninix for
Yeah,
leaders?
yeah. If there's a mixed
yeah.
gender, okay, we would say because they're all leaders in that, right? But if you're gonna say it, okay, we have two Ninawakis in there, but overall, because they're decision makers, we just say Ninex because they're leaders,
Yeah.
right? Not necessarily. We don't really determine the gender, just their role as leaderships, right? They're decision makers. They're the ones that negotiate our land and negotiate our rights and so forth, which is a whole new different study, I suppose. But here we're just going to go language. So you understand what Nina is, right? Okay, when you think about Nina, think about, of course, the male, right? But also a leader. Who's the director of Friendship Center? Elaine Smith. Elaine Smith, she's the director here. So she would be an Inawaki, right?
Smith.
Huh?
You said Elaine Smith.
Who's that? Oh, Elaine, what's her last name?
Creighton.
Creighton. There is a person by that name. Elaine Creighton, which is a Gi, will be an Inawaki. And, she's responsible for a nice t-shirt. Try to get these orange t-shirts. Wear them every day this week. Every day this week. Because it's not just like it's leading up to Saturday night, but of course it's wear them. There's going to be some vigils, there's going to be some ceremonies, there's going to be some powwows and speakers. I actually spoke in one this morning at the public school. They wanted me to talk. They kind of threw me under the, hey, would you like to talk about residential school? Yeah, sure. That's something that you want to talk about. But anyways, I did. And then I spoke about my personal experience, just a little bit, not all of it. That we're still around as residential school survivors. Yeah. Okay, so 4 words. Akikuan. Sakkumapi. Aki. Point to yourselves if you're an Aki. Aki. Like that. Nina. That's me. Nina. Which means, of course, a man and a leader, right? That's what that means, leader. And then we're going to talk about this, but just to give you just an indication that the chiefs at the time of Treaty 7, which was September the 22nd, in the year 2027 will have been 125 years since the signing of the treaty, 1877. No, yeah, 100-year anniversary, 2027. So that's just like 3 years away, right? Yeah. So when they signed the treaty, hey, hello, where did you come from? Come on, get not Bicon. Oh, okay. I don't think they said that, but anyways. So when they signed the treaty and that, they gave gifts to the leadership, which was Red Crow, with Ghana and Siksika, of course, they had Crowfoot. Begunny, I'm not too sure what the person was named. Was it Crow Flag or something like, not Crow Shoe, but Crow something over there. Crow, anyways. And of course, the Tsutsina had Bullhead and some of the other Treaty 7 areas. So the chiefs when they signed over the treaty and that, they were given medallions. Each of the chiefs were given medallions. And then, so you are the leader. So we made an observation, all the speakers and that the Nina is now Ohkinina, which means the leader who wears the necklace or the medallion. That's what that means, Ohkinina. So, Chief Roy Fox right now, and those medallions still exist in that. I'm not too sure where they store them, but we still have that medallion. Every time they have an election, which is coming up in about a couple of years and that, they still do that. They'll give that same medallion or something, or replica, and they'll put it around the new elected chief. So the next chief, whether it be Roy Fox or another one, would receive that. And we call our chiefs Ohkinina, the leader who wears the necklace or the medallion, right? And then further to that, they knew that, not only was there a Nina, You had other minor chiefs, which would be called counselors, right? Like today. So they were given uniforms, and these uniforms consisted of almost a suit jacket and a long suit jacket, and they came with matching pants. And right along the side of their pants, there was a red, kind of like a red stripe all the way down to their pants. So the counselors we made that observation. Oh, they're getting like a suit with a red stripe on their pants. And we call them mohkutuks, which means, the red marking on their clothing. And that's what we call our counselor. Ohkinina, which is, the leader who wears the medallion or the necklace. And his counselor is mohkutuks, the uniforms with the red stripe. Yeah. And as speakers of today of that will say Ninax and that, but this, the more fluent speakers will say, oh, Nina, no. That's our true leader, our chief, the medallion. And Mohkutuk specs, those are the counselors, the ones that wore the stripe. Oh, Blackfoot, Mohkutuks. And that was, and those outfits were probably, holy smart, what is this? They're kind of feel good. Cotton. Instead of that buckskin I am so used to wearing. And it's got a zipper, but you have to wear a belt with them. But anyways, those were the original, that's what we call our chiefs today, the speakers. So, well, that's our Nina. But in reality, Ohkin Nina, the medallion wearing, right? And our counselors, we call Mohkutuks, the ones with the red stripe. The people with the red stripe. So, 4 words. But Nina, that's the one that really is growing up and they'll say, well, he's our Nina. You think of as that man, but on the same token of that, well, he has a leadership as well, too, because every household has a Nina, right? So is that is that the leader? Not necessarily within the Nitsitapi, the Blackfoots and that. Because it was kind of like, and I think I shared this with you on that, with some of our leadership and that, and not necessarily the man, it was kind of almost like equal. It was almost like, I would say, the women, Aki, had a more active decision-making role in the encampments than the man, right? Because, the women had a very, very strong task that they had to fulfill in that. Oh, here's a buffalo. I killed about 2 buffalo. I need 2 moccasins. I need a new pair of pants. I need a new lodge. That's a monumentous task, for somebody. Hello, Heather. Heather just joined us, right?
Yes, okay.
Okay, glad you can join us.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we're just talking about genders, and we just talked about, are you a leader of any sort? Are you a CEO? Are you in charge of anything? Huh?
I'm a business owner, so I own 2 businesses.
And you're the leader, right? You're the you're the CEO, so to
I
speak.
guess so. You could say that.
Okay,
That's
so yeah, so Heather
good.
would be a Ninawaki. You would be like a leader of your company, right? Ninawaki. What's an old war that's Noah of Ark? Is that his name? What was that? Noah? Is that his name? Jonah of Ark or
Joan of Arc.
Joan of Arc? Right? He was a warrior, a leader in that. So that would be a Ninawaki right there. A Joan of Arc, right? He led the French. Was it the French or the English against the? I'm not too sure. The French, right? And he opposed, the English rule, and he chased out the. So Joan of Arc, right? A true Ninawaki, and there's somebody like that too, right? And of course, the churches themselves, the Pope at the time, when they came, he was the head of state, right? So that was their Nina, and all the monarchy systems that existed in that. They had King George and King Edward and so forth and that. And then the leadership role came, and then of course Queen Elizabeth, and said, "Oh, okay, that's the leader now, so he's the Ninawaki." Yeah, and of course now it's what's his name, King Charles. Yeah, King Charles. Yeah, so he would be the Nina of the state now, right? Yeah. So okay, enough of that political talk. Any questions before I move along? Time's up. Okay, so our next two individuals we're going to be talking about are the elders. First one, get ready for that guttural. Gina. Gina.
Gina.
Yeah, that's an old man. Gina. That's somebody who's an elder, an elderly man, right? An Gina. When does somebody become an Gina? Good question. Like myself, I'm 64. They'll say, well, you know, you're an elder. Well, yeah, maybe I am an elder, but I don't think I've achieved that Gina status within our communities, right? And when you think about an Gina, the word Nina is in there, right? So obviously he's somebody that's a male, okay? This first part of the right here, somebody says it's big. Yeah, it means big, right? It also means somebody who's top notch. Okay, I'm talking about a Tiger Woods. He's very good at his golfing. When I think about somebody who plays hockey right now, everybody thinks about Connor McDavid, right? He's really good at it, right? But he's still a nina, and Tiger Woods is a nina. But as they get older in that, right? They've really achieved, you know, their manhood. They've achieved what they were doing. So they're top-notch men, right? I'm going to say, so back in the days of the buffalo, right? Very harsh winters, and you're relied upon as a man to provide, not necessarily, you know, you have to go out into the harsh wilderness, right? And you have to hunt a buffalo, and it's quite the tedious task. If you look at the movie called Standing Alone, it was made in 1977 or 76. The movie Standing Alone. Myself, along with two other young gentlemen who are still around with me in that, we were given the challenge. You said, Pete Standing Alone at that time, say, you know, these young people nowadays, this is before cell phones, right? They figured that us young people, we were about 16 at that time, 1975, 74. They were challenging us. They were saying, you know, these young people today, I don't think they'll have the skill of the young people of old and that, of the days of the buffalo. So, you know, he made a bet with us. And, oh, okay, well, give us a few days. You know, we all knew how to ride, like the three of us. It was a given. We all were raised around horses and that. But we had to take the saddle off, and we couldn't use a bridle, which was just a piece of rawhide right in here. And our horses and that were quite fast, and we had no saddles. We had to ride bareback. And our buffalo was a makeshift, well, it was a truck, but on the side of the truck, they had these bales, right? So what we had to do in that is that as the truck starts moving, we have to chase after with our horse. So we were kind of dressed in what we would think were warriors back then, you know, days of the buffalo. So as you were riding, you got to really trust your horse, right? As you were riding and that, you have to eventually let go of the reins, and you got to kind of kick the horse to make sure that your horse is going to, you know, run straight. And then you got to, in the back right here on this little pouch where all your arrows are, you got to pull out an arrow at full speed, and then you got to load up your arrow onto your bow, and then somehow you got to aim it at right in here somewhere, not the head and that, right under here. This is where you want to aim at it, and then you got to shoot the, you know, and that's what we were doing for about 4 days. And each time, each time Pete would go a little bit faster, and then you would have to really chase after that, you know, literally whip your horse, and then catch up to it, let go of your horse, grab an arrow all in one motion, load it up on your, and then shoot, and then move out of the way, you know, for the other ones. And after about 4 days and that, we were pretty good hunters. I think we were, if you put me back into those days of the days of the buffalo, I would be a hunter. Yeah. So, you know, it was those kind of skills. And of course, you know, surviving all those harsh winters, you know, and, you know, achieving, you know, certain statuses within your community that, and as you get older and older, you're an umkhkina. You know, it's somebody who's lived many years and who has achieved lots of feats and who has met all challenges, right? And at the same time, you know, he has a family, you know, that really looks up to him and that just absolutely loves him and that, right? So that's what that umkhkina means. Somebody who's really achieved throughout the years, you know, some of, you know, a lot of notches, so to speak, on that, right? You know, today we're just an old man. Oh, there's an old man, right? But in essence, if you see an old man today and that, you know, oh wow. Now there is somebody who's really achieved. So when you start to say now, who would be somebody who's kind of like a real umkhkina that's kind of Chief Dan George? Would he be an umkhkina? Like he made a name for himself in the communities. He's a star. I think of Graham Greene. I've just recently seen him on an episode of Reservation Dogs. And now there's a person that's, you know, he's old, but he's really achieved lots during his lifetime, you know, through the film industry, right? So there's an umkhkina. Huh? Another umkhkina that kind of comes to mind would be, I think personally myself, Roy Fox. He's up there in his 70s. He's really achieved lots through his political, you know, although he's our chief, but you know, he's become a very valuable person through his age. Eh? So think of that person not as old, but somebody who's achieved a lifetime of, you know, achievements, whether it be back in the, you know, days of the buffalo or today, right? But you know, the Western thought, we see somebody who's old on a walker, oh, he's an old man. Oh, wait a minute, you know, he's around, he rodeoed, you know, he was a boxer at one time, and you know, he went to Queens and Americans. He came out of there pretty good.
Survive.
He's had many visits to Queens and Americans. Look at him, he's an umkhkina. No, I'm just kidding. But you know, that's what that literally means, and that the person who's really lived a full life, and during that time period and that of old, and I'm talking about the days of the buffalo. So that word umkhkina has, you know, has been used for the elderly men, you know, over the years and that, right? Do I consider myself an old man? Yeah, well, you say, you know, in Western thought, next year when I'm 65, yeah, I'll be an elder. I'll be getting, you know, what they call the old age pension and that. So in Western thought, yeah, I'm an old man, but in Nitsitapi, I don't think I've achieved enough yet to be called an umkhkina, right? Another one too that they say, if you're part of the religious ceremonies and that, a person who's an elder, you don't say elder, awachskata, which means this is our grandfather. These are our grandfathers, and those are the people that perform ceremonies, right? That's a different, much more different, right? So, understand umkhkina a little bit, right? Say it. It's kind of right there. Umkhkina, and umkhkina. You're not gonna look at elderly men different now that I've explained to you what umkhkina means, right? We just say, just put them into the home and stuff like that. But you know, we view them much different. Back in the days and that, we still think them as, you know, as somebody who's really achieved, you know, during his lifetime. Just trying to think of anybody else in our community. Yeah, so those individuals, lots of them, I just can't think of them right now. Okay, so which brings us to our next word is now. Understand, this is an old Blackfoot word. This is an old Blackfoot word for old woman. Okay. It's kipitaki. Kipitaki. Okay. That's what we use for somebody who's an elderly woman. Okay. Kipitaki. It's not trick-or-treating. Tell them it's next week. It's not till next month. So kipitaki is an old woman. Kipitaki. Ki is your suffix of the word, right? Kipitaki. Let me explain. When you say kipitaki, automatically you're westernizing that the word old woman. Okay. Think of Granny from the cartoons of Tweety Bird. Okay, that's a classic kipitaki in Western, um, an old lady, right? Okay, not necessarily in that, right? We really revere a kipitaki back in those days and that. Somebody who has achieved kipitaki is somebody of the days of the buffalo. Now here is a woman, an aki, or even an akikwan at a very early age in that is going to be apprenticing with all the elderlies and all the women akis. So when there's a task that need to be done, okay, this is how you're going to do. This is how you're going to hide take the hide out of the buffalo. This is how you're going to skin it, right? This is how you're going to cut it based on the tools that they have back then and that. A lot of observations in that. So now you're going to have to cut the pattern to make moccasins, and you're going to make a teepee. You're going to make garments, right? Very tedious task, and that with just the tools that they had, stones, right? Bones, rocks, if you want to pound something in that big round rock. So they used the tools that were available to them. So a kipitaki is somebody who's made probably hundreds of moccasins, right? Really tedious task. He's made, numerous lodges made out of, he's put up the teepees and that. He's tore down the teepees and that. He's packed and he's ready to go. Lots and lots of work. When that person, that female, is unable to do any of those tasks anymore, right? Because maybe his fingers now kind of hurt, maybe his back is a little bit, kind of sore, from all the lifting, the scraping, the shoulders and that. When he's unable to do those tasks, then you use a kipitaki. Okay. Which literally means, that this person has done numerous tasks in that capacity in that. When he's just unable to do those tasks and that, then they become a kipitaki. Oh, you know what? I've made 100 moccasins, I've made 20 teepees and that, I've hided 1,000, buffalo. And when you can't do those things anymore, then you're a kipitaki. Usually they're the elderly, right? But if you're an Aki or an Akikwan and you're given a buffalo, here you go. We need to make some moccasins. Who are you going to ask? You're going to ask that kipitaki, right? Who are you going to call? Kipitaki, right? If your whole household needs moccasins and you're given, the raw materials, who are you going to ask to put it together, right? You're going to go to the kipitaki, very, very highly, they're going to be revered because of that knowledge that they have, right? The shortcuts that they have, and then how to cut the patterns and so forth, how to hide, and how to cut the meat, right? Kipitaki's done that lots of times and that. So that kipitaki is going to be sitting right there, making an observations and that. Okay, this is how you do it. It's going to show you visually as you are sitting beside her. Now you are doing those tasks that kipitaki is going to be sitting right there, watching you, guiding you the proper way, right? It's very valuable, right? This is how we did it over hundreds and hundreds of years. It seems to work. They all get together, the old ladies, and they talk about what they watched on TV. They talk about, okay, how can we make these tasks easier for us, and so forth. Meat, what's the best way to prepare the meat and so forth, how to preserve meat. Kipitakis are the ones they're going to be asking. Very valuable, right? They might have a secret recipe that they have and that, hey, what's such a secret recipe for a berry soup? Those kind of things. And they are very valuable in our camp. They'll say, oh, it's just, you're saying they're just kind of, no, they're very much valuable within the camps, these kipitakis and that. Here's an example of my grandmother on my paternal side. He was born in 1898. This is my dad's mom. Born in 1898. And she passed about in the early 90s, about 95. So we figure she was over almost into her hundreds, if not 100 years old, when she passed. And I remember back in the 80s, in the early 80s, even in the 70s, as she was getting old and that, she would just say, I'm not a kipitaki yet. I can still cook. I can still do the laundry. I can still mop and sweep my floors. I can still do all those tasks. And you say, oh, okay. And it makes sense. She's not a kipitaki and until she can't do those tasks anymore, right? But she has the knowledge up here. So my grandmother, she was born in 1898. Alberta was still Rupert's land, right? In 1898. It wasn't until 1907 that we became a province of Alberta. So she was older than Alberta, when she passed. So she's seen the first. Well, she didn't see it, but she lived through the First World War of 1917, and of course the Second World War. You've seen maybe the first television. You've probably seen the first car, in southern Alberta. Now there was a person that was her knowledge up here, right? The language and that. My goodness, her stories. I can still see her now and that. Oh, wow. Those were our elders, kipitaki. But she wasn't a kipitaki until she couldn't do those tasks. Oh, okay, the kipitaki. There's some of our old ladies, they'll admit, no, the kipitaki. I'm an old lady now because I just can't do those tasks anymore. My hands, I've made hundreds of moccasins, right? And my eyes are kind of crossed because I really have, I can't see very good. I'm unable to, scrape the hairs off the buffalo and that. Those are the kipitakis, unable to do those tasks anymore. Okay? But if we say kipitaki today, we think of, there's an old woman, kipitaki, right? And I'll say to you, probably not yet. He can probably still run a mile. I ran the moonlight run not too long ago, and the policeman run, and it was just right beside me. A couple of, you would say, old ladies, but I don't think they were kipitakis because they were right there running alongside us, and that they were much older than me. I was quite envious of them because they beat me. So, understand what those two words mean now? Any questions? Audience out there?
Okay.
Norma? Heather?
All good.
Larissa? All good? You're not gonna see us as old men anymore, like old and retired, and you're gonna see us, like we've achieved, like over the years, and certain individuals, and I have I overcame COVID. That's something that that's I beat COVID. Yeah,
I did
indeed.
have a question.
Yeah.
So when you said that the old man had a different word for when he's in the ceremonies and spiritual.
Yeah.
Is there another word for the woman if she's?
Yeah, it's the same word. Those are our grandparents. So if you're a ceremonial elder, you're a awaks, right? Whether it be female or male, awaks, right? Those are the ones in the ceremony that they look for, like to help them through their sort of guide them, right? Awaks, when we start going into the families and that, you're going to use a lot of the in there, all right? So now we have sakkumapi, kikuan, ki, nina, kipitaki, and umkina. 6 genders, okay? And then, okay, here is a little, you guys grab a pen, and you're gonna write these 2 words down. And you're gonna say, well, how come we're kind of, it leads to these 2 words, okay? The first one is O-M-M. And this is the word for that. Right? And the second word is A-M-M. And this is the word for this. Okay? That and this. When we say We're talking about a subject or something that's away from you. Okay. All right. Just an example. Here's a chair. Okay. And Nadine is sitting beside an empty chair over there at the end of this table. So, this chair, subatis. Subatis. Away. Okay. Understand? This chair, and away. It's right here, close to the speaker, which is me. Okay. And away from the speaker. Okay. Okay, here's a little test. Okay. Now we're just gonna have a Nadine over there is Okay. Aki bikanaki. What did I just say?
You said over there,
That woman.
there's that, Bikani woman.
Yeah. Aki bikanaki. So what I'm saying is that that woman is from the scabby robe people. Bikanaki. He's from Bikani. Okay. Okay. So Sue, sit right here, real quick. I want to use the So Sue is sitting beside me. Okay. And I'm going to say ki. I'm not actually touching her head. Looks like it, right? Ki siksakaki. Ki bikanaki. What did I just say? I'm going to say it again. Ki siksakaki. Ki bikanaki.
This woman is a Sigsaga woman. That woman is a Begani woman.
Yeah. Hey.
Hey.
So that's how you use and okay? If it's beside you, in close proximity, it's this, right? If it's away from the speaker, then it's okay? Away, this, okay? I'm gonna get that done. I'm gonna write this down and that. No, understand it's singular. Woman, right? Woman, not woman. So akikwan, single that. Okay, and this while Sue was sitting here. Okay. So now let's just have another one. Sue, come sit back over here. Now we're gonna have it create another scenario. Okay. So they're male now. They're ninas. Okay. Listen. Nina. Ganekwan. Nina. Ska pipikanikawan. What did I just say? I'll say it again. Nina. Ganekwan. Nina. Ska pipikanikawan.
That man is Gaynak. Is Gaynak man.
Yeah.
And
Man
I'm
from Ghana. Yeah.
and this man is from Bikani.
Yeah, Amskabi Pikani. The man from Amskabi Pikani. The southern Pikani.
Southern Bikani.
Yeah. Was that easy or was that kind of hard? And Yeah, over there. Close proximity. Anytime you're gonna speak, like in this room. Oh, anybody see my hat? There it is. If it's here's my hat. Okay. And
Question, is there a difference between speaking about something that's
inanimate?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
We have a way of saying animate and inanimate. Okay. All right. Now say Nadine's over there. Okay. And now somebody say, has anybody seen Nadine? Now he's over there, right? My yoke. My yoke. Now, I've lost my hat and I misplaced my hat and it's over there. Okay. And I'll say, me yoke. Yeah, my yoke and me yoke. My yoke is something that's animate. My yoke, Nadine, right? Umiyok Nutsumu, my hat. There's a way of saying animate and inanimate. It's just like in Blackfoot, when we count, they recount inanimate and inanimate. When we say colors, there's an inanimate way of saying colors and an animate saying of colors. Like I'm wearing an orange shirt, okay? It's utkuinatsi, right? But if a person has orange skin, like a Garfield, you know, the Garfield is an orange cat, we'll say utkuinam. Natsi is animate, inanimate, I should say. And num is something that's animate, like Garfield otkuinam, right? It's his orange fur. Yeah. So we have, you know, we do have a differentiation between an animate and inanimate in our colors, even when we count. And then we say, did you see Nadine? Yeah, I seen her nuts. Oh, my yoke. Ah, did you see my hat? Yeah, I seen it. Where is it? Oh, me yoke. Inanimate, right? The hat is inanimate. Makes sense there, Sue? Yeah. So going back, okay. Now, here's another one. Now, we know that Ghana is many chief, right? Okay. And it's also a place, okay? So if I'm from Ghana and I want to say I'm from Ghana, I'll say ni tum do do. Let me spell that. All these places that these people live at are now not only cultural people, but they're a place. So I am from ni tum do do. Ni tum do. Okay. Now, ni tum do Ghana, right? I'm a Ghana icon. Or ni tum do Picani. I'm a Picani icon. Ni tum do I'm Scapi Picani. Yeah, I'm Scapi Picani icon, right? These people are living in a place now, right? Ghana never used to be Ghana until the reserve was established. And the people that occupy are now living in Ghana. So if a guy was going to come visit us during our kind of Indian days, we'll say, so where are you going this weekend for the power? Well, I'm going to Ghana, the place, right? So the reserve, the community. If I'm going to their celebrations in Siksika, so where are you going this weekend? Oh, I'm going to go to Siksika, right? Which is a place now, right? It wasn't a place before that because of the establishments of borders that is reserved. The place that they occupy is Siksika, Ghana, Bikani, and Abskapi Bikani. They are now places, but they're also people, right? I'm going to Ghana. Oh, okay, the many chief people, yep. But it's also a place, okay? Yeah. Lethbridge. I really don't know what the history of Lethbridge is, but we do have words for them. And we're going to get into the communities. So any questions so far? And
Could you say to Okotok or
yeah, you can say that.
Boston?
Yeah, you can say that if you're from Okotoks, if you're from McGrath, if you're from Lethbridge, no, that's actually that's where you come from, right? Let's say you now live in Okotoks, but you were born and raised in Lethbridge. Let's say, okay, Lethbridge. That would be something you would say. But now I live in Okotoks now, right? Which is a whole new different, Like me, I can say right? So I was born and raised right on the Ghana. We had an old Indian hospital at Cardston and that. And it was they call it Blood Reserve Indian Hospital in 1959. That's where I was born. The old Indian hospital. I was raised right on my community of Ghana. So I can literally say, Ghana. I'm still living there. Most of us we never actually leave our reserve just to go to school probably, but we always move back, right? Okay, any questions?
One more thing. So how would you say I'm from the blood reserve, but I live in Montfkinsis?
Okay, so you would say, no.
I always say but in,
You don't say what, okay? Nito mo do, kaya needs it to go. Now I live in Smokinstas. No go. That's my home. Yeah. Needs it to go. Yeah, that's where I live. Needs it to go. You know, I'm from, but you know, people say when you think, well, you know, you live in a place where you come from. Not necessarily in that. I think a lot of us are transient. You know, they're from Quebec. They now live in Lethbridge, going to school, and some of them they stay here, right? And I'll say, "Are you from Lethbridge?" Oh no, they don't do Quebec. Oh, okay, right. Let's say you and I, right, Heather, we
Mhm.
both live in Mohkinstas, what we call Calgary, and I ask you, where are you from? I'll say, oh, they don't do Ghana. I say, oh, okay. Then you'll ask me that, and I'll say, no, I'm just they don't do Ghana. You know, there's an understanding which community we came from, right?
Mhm.
They don't do, right? Whereas, you know, Nadine, who now lives in Lethbridge, but she's not from this area. So Nadine, they don't do say that. Tsutsina. And that's what you know, he's from that area, but he Tukui in Lethbridge. So Nitomuk do is where you came from. Where is it that you're from, right? Born and raised right here on a blood reserve. Nitomuk do, right? And I'm still living there. So yeah, so if you see somebody in like in the city and you think that he's Blackfoot, say Nitomuk do Ghana. And they'll understand if it's from the Confederacy and that. It's okay. Nitomuk do Pigani. And in your mind, okay, you're from the from the Brockett area and that, right? Your communities. That's how we know each other and that. Well, one time we were traveling on a plane to, just forget where we were going, to the Hawaii, 1999, the World Indigenous People on Education. What is that, WIPSI, they used to call it? That was years ago, 1999. We all got on a plane, and on the plane there were some Siksika and some Pikani, and we had some other people from up north. And the people that spoke the language, oh, where are you from? Oh, Ghana. Oh, Ghana. Oh, okay. So we sort of, oh, Siksika. Oh, and in my head, you know that they're from the northern Siksika, right? And yeah, that's how we identify ourselves in that. Okay, so oh, okay, you're from the, a Sina, from up north. That's what we call the people of the Cree, a Sina, right? So Sina. Some of us, we still call them saksi. Yeah. It's an old Blackfoot word, saksi. But later on, when they tried to translate that into their community, they said sarsi. Yeah. But we call them saksi. It's an old Blackfoot word that kind of means they were very stubborn people in that. They were kind of stubborn in the sense when they came into the Blackfoots, they made an observation of how stubborn they were. And we call them saksi, an old Blackfoot word. Yeah. So they are the people that were very stubborn. Yeah. But
We
actually,
say asana for Cree. Does that have
asana.
a asana? Does that have another literal
Yeah, it
translation?
has it's an old Blackfoot word. And I've asked different elders, like much more older speakers, and that asana has been the word that they grew up, but they never really asked what the literal meaning is, asana. Because when we describe other peoples, we describe something characteristic of them, like Bikani, Gana, right? Siksiga, something that's cultural, significant, that, really. But asana, I've asked, what does that mean? Cree? No. Yeah, we know that, but what does it mean? What's the culture that we're describing? And none of them. And given these Blackfoot symposium, they just say, well, it means Cree. Yeah, okay, it means Cree, but what does it mean literally? Were we talking about something how they dress? Is it talk about where they live or the way they talk? So it's a very descriptive. So we say Asina. How would you say a woman from Asina? Sinaki, compound word. What about a man from Asina? Sinek one, right? Yeah. We just use the word as your prefix, and your suffix would be the aki and the shenekon, right? And we still call the tsutsina, like the speakers, saksi. So, Nadine is from that community. We'll say saksaki, saksikon, an old Blackfoot word. But they've changed. What did you change to tsutsina? Yeah. Yeah, a while back, right? But they were always good. The speakers of the Blackfoot tonight, we still refer to them as saksi. But now they're like, so what does tsutsina mean, by the way?
Yeah.
What does it mean?
There's two translations. So
Can you hear?
beaver people. That's what one translation. Many people. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's.
Yes, of course. In their language is very descriptive too, like the beaver people, the many people. We are the Nitsitapi, the true people, right? Nitsitapi. And further to that, we're the Gana, the many chief people. Yeah. So that's a little blur. I didn't want to throw a whole bunch of words at you tonight. 6 genders. The next week, we're going to finish off these genders. We need to know what the word is for baby. Okay. And we'll go further to that. And then something that's kind of very important here too. We're going to begin our animal study. Animals are very important to the First Nations of Southern Alberta. We have names with the animals, right? Let's see, what's a long time squirrel, right? There's a name. Wolf child, right? There's another name, like what's another? Many gray horses, like so these names are based on these animals, right? All animals characteristic, or somebody's, the characteristic of themselves and that. But we're going to do animals. We're going to do first, we're going to study and we're going to learn the non-indigenous animals that were brought over by the colonists and that, right? And then there's a culture about, all these animals and that, because we have to give them names, right? Just an example is the horse. Okay, so now the horse is not indigenous to the Blackfoots. And we say punakomita. It's a compound word of elk and imita. So when you translate punakomita, it's literally elk dog. That's the translation of a horse. So we had to give it a name, right? And so the first horse that came into this area, we've ever seen it, and that, some of the speakers of the, it's a punakomita. Never seen that before. So he must have seen this thing looking like a horse, but at the same time, imita, you can domesticate them, right? So it becomes a punakomita. Elk dog, yeah. And those are some of the, we'll study those words, non-indigenous. And then tomorrow, and then we'll break it down into animals with antlers, okay? Animals with paws. When I say paws, and like the lions and your grizzlies and so forth, and we'll go into the rodents and we'll finish off with the birds. Okay. So Sue here is going to be leaving here with us in about 5 minutes. So we're going to leave this open. Any questions, not necessarily the class, something that's been lingering in the back of your mind, something that you've seen, anything. Any questions?
I'm thinking about the word akiguan. So that's the girl.
Yeah.
And then guan. And then guan is
the suffix
man.
Guan, yeah, like.
So is it like woman, man, or is it like a different?
No, ki Guan, it's that Guan is sort of like, here is the girl, right?
Yeah.
Ki is the woman, right? The Guan, it means the culture of the females. Ki Guan is going to eventually become an Aki. He's a little Aki Guan. Eventually, he's going to be an Aki. But when does it become an Aki? I think.
When they're a woman.
Yeah, when they're past the elementary. I think when you.
But like if we're saying white man, for instance, we say nappy guan, which is so the guan there.
Guan, yeah. He's a man.
Is that so? It is Aki guan and like nappy guan. Is it the same guan?
Yeah, it's the same one. It's the same ending.
It's the same. Okay, it's like the spelt the same, and it.
Yeah,
okay.
It's spelt. It's
just one of those. What are those words?
Yeah. Bigani Guan. Yeah. It's the, we're from the, the Guan indicates, your prefix, right? So you're gonna like the Aki Guan. You're from the Akis, the Guan, right? Indicates that's where you're from, right? Aki Guan, right? So eventually, Aki Guan
Ah,
is gonna become a
okay. So Guan isn't like man. It
no,
just
no, no. It just means
ah,
that's where you come from. The
okay.
suffix indicates this is
Okay.
where you come from.
Okay, that makes
Bene
sense.
Guan, right?
Guan.
Bikani Guan, right? So this Ki Guan is going to eventually eliminate that. It's going to become an Aki.
Okay.
Right.
And so,
That's where you're going to.
so if we're talking say about a Begani man, we'd say Begani Guan, and that's
Yeah.
just sorry, he comes from
Oh, yeah, it
Begani.
comes from the
But
beginning.
then
Yeah.
we'd say Beganaki, it's just a okay.
A woman.
I understand. Okay. So we
Okay,
basically just
yeah,
don't
hey,
specify the
yeah.
gender for
Very
men, but we
descriptive
specify
of
the
what you,
gender for
very descriptive.
women.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes
Yeah.
sense. I understand Guan now. Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
the Guan. Yeah, the suffix, right? Anytime you're going to describe somebody who's from that, oh, okay. Let's say the culture that's another group that came in 1912. And it's just a true story. The first Hutterite colony that moved into Canada were right in Standoff. That was the very first Hutterite colony. 1912 or 1917, they first established their colony. They came from North or South Dakota. When they came into Canada, they came to Standoff. And we call them Utaksistuyi, the people with the round beards. Utaksistuyi, right? They had round beard, kind of like Amish, right? Utaksistuyi, right here. No mustache, just like a nice round beard. So, we call them that. Oh, Utaksistuyi. Oh, okay. So that's the culture, round beards. So say Utaksistuyi Guan, a man from the round beards. Utaksistuyaki, an aki that comes from the round beard culture, right? Yeah. Very descriptive. Very descriptive. Now imagine another group of people that came into Fort McLeod, observing them. Oh, they all wear wooden shoes. Because a lot of the people that came into Fort McLeod, they were Dutch. So what do you think we called them? Based on something that was very, significant of their culture, we call them the wooden shoe people. Right? So very descriptive, of something that when they came, right? Something that they practiced. Wooden shoes, right? The wooden shoe people. Very descriptive, right? So think of the Napi and Napi Guan. Well, that's what we've seen, right? What we've seen, how they behaved and how they conduct themselves. Napi was somebody that you don't want to be. Napi stories were used to bring balance back into your communities. Don't be like Napi, right? Share, right? You treat your women right, and you just as a community, we all need to come along. It is for the betterment of the community, not for individuals. The community, not me, right? So like when you see these Napi ones come in and that, oh, this is mine. I fenced it off. Oh, I put my flag there. This is mine now, right? And I need to clear off this area. Well, there's too many buffalo. Let's clear them out. So you clear out the buffalo. So Napi Guan, that's what we call them. Something that's very unstructured. There's a lot of balance in our camps and that, right? If you walk into the camp, it's our camp, right? Here's just a prime example of community. When COVID hit way back in 2020, that the communities and that, including Lethbridge, they had mandates, right? But when they lifted those mandates and that, our community continued those masking mandates and those, because we just felt that we weren't ready to move forward like the rest of them, because we made those decisions for the betterment of the community as a whole, right? So we went beyond those mandates that were now open. We just continued those mandates because our leadership and us, we felt we need to still mandate ourselves in that, because it's pretty devastating, the COVID. So we kind of extended our restrictions, not necessarily, it's just for the betterment of the whole community, Ghana, right? That's why we do those things. For community, not the individual, but for the community and so forth. And that. Our elders, our kipitakis, we need them, right? These knowledge keepers. All right, I got about 2 minutes. Sue's gonna shut her down. And thank you for your time. And we got lots and lots of other words. What's
Over there,
that.
away,
Yeah,
that's,
over
yeah,
there.
that's.
And
Right
This.
there.
right here. So remember that. Aki bikanaki. Aki saksakaki. Nina ganekwan. Nina saksakekwan. Nina napikwan. Nina skapipikanekwan. Got it?
Got it.
All right. So next week, we're going to start our animal study. We're going to do lots and lots of animals. And of course, wear your orange shirts. Sue designed this one here. That's her right there. She made the shirts for Friendship Center. And if you're in need of some orange shirts, go to your local organization and grab some. Calgary, I do believe the Calgary, they have an office there. It's Siksika Health. And they're on the 16th Avenue. Heather, if you're in Calgary, go pick some up, or the Friendship Centers. Yeah. Just look, all these things are free, right? You can just pick this up in, I think the schools themselves are going to get some t-shirts donated by, who's bringing your t-shirts? Any
I
idea?
don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, so most of the schools in our community, Siksiga, Bigani, Gana, they're all going to get free t-shirts. And of course, the Friendship Center, who's doing the Blackfoot language, they have t-shirts here. They're free. They're just giving them away. But if you go to Sport Check Walmart, you gotta use your bank card and tap. You gotta buy them. But go to an organization where they're giving them away. I think some of the schools too here in town are giving them away too, right? Free. Yeah.
I'll come by Friday. I'll be down in Powwow. So I'll come and pick up a t-shirt.
Might actually be bringing some of the shirts to the powwow as well.
Oh,
Is it this
awesome.
coming weekend or Saturday, Sunday? Is
Yeah.
it Friday, Saturday?
Friday, Saturday.
I thought it was 30th and the 1st. Because the 1st
Yeah.
is actually Sunday.
Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah.
It's Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah, Saturday and Sunday. Yeah, the powwow starts Saturday afternoon, I think. Yeah. And then it goes to Sunday. So it's actually a 2-day powwow. Saturday at the exhibition pavilion and that. And I'm sure they'll have some t-shirts there too to give away, right? Because it's not something that they're making money off, I don't think. And it's just it creates an awareness, right? Of some of the stuff that happened right here in Canada. Yeah, some of our children. It was big news. Was that 2 summers ago that 215 children were uncovered in Kamloops? Was that this summer or last summer? I just forget.
Two ago.
Was that 2 years ago? Or 1 year ago?
2.
2 years ago. But anyways, yeah, that's something that, that's come up.
So
And
much since then too.
what's that?
It's grown so much.
Yeah, it's grown. The numbers are not, we're into the thousands now that the children that they're uncovering. Yeah.
Hey Sue, if I e-transfer you for shipping, would you send me one? Because I love your design.
Yeah, look at it.
Because it's the Blackfoot one.
It's really nice.
Could you mail me one?
Yeah, just email me.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Go
I
with
won't be here in
the
time, but I've got lots of orange shirts.
yeah, this is got a design in the back, right? Is there something in the back or the wall?
Oh, Sue, will you autograph it with a Sharpie for me? Because you're the artist.
That's the design right there. You'll have it all signed, delivered.
Oh, please do.
Yep,
Send you my address and I'll work out all e-transfer you for the shipping and stuff. That'd be
So thank you, Danielle, Heather, Larissa, Norma for joining us. Bring some friends, and then of course Nadine joined us today in the front over here.
Steve, thank you so
Yeah,
much.
so good. We're gonna be back here next Monday, and every Monday after that, except that Thanksgiving Monday coming up in October, which is about 2 weeks. Yeah. So we'll have a long holiday. We'll be eating some turkey. Not that I need to eat, but so we'll see you all. That's the plural. Is singular. You and I. Plural. If I'm talking to just Heather, singular, you and I. But if I'm talking to all of you, plural. Yeah, yeah, we'll see each other. There's no goodbye in Blackfoot, by the way. No such word. We don't have goodbye. I think some of the other speakers of their languages don't have goodbye. Eh? I think all indigenous language. There's no goodbye. We'll see you again. Yeah. Well, that time when they had, I was really just kind of angry. But the first flight that they brought to Lethbridge, I do believe it was, I'm not too sure what plane, but we welcomed them. Me and my son welcomed the first flight. A bunch of people came off that plane, were singing for them, and yay, and I just forget what airline. But anyways, we had a big celebration. The mayor there, big speeches, and that to be saying the welcome. And as they were leaving, their flight, and one of the ladies says, "Do you guys have a goodbye song you can sing?" "Oh no, we don't. That's not in our culture. We don't have goodbye. Hey, goodbye. We just don't have goodbye. It's just kind of. I was gonna give it to her because that's something that's not within our culture, right? Yeah, I was kind of a bit offended for saying that. You guys have a good. How do you think we are? We have culture, we have a language, and that's something that we don't have, and that, right? It's kind of thinking, oh, okay. I think we're just a bunch of bees and feathers sometimes, without the language. Yeah. We're not all bees and feathers, and we have a very distinct, very alive language that we have. Very rich in our traditions. A good storyteller in Blackfoot is the same as a good novel. Boy, it'll just take you to that place, and that you can visualize the people, the backdrop, and that. The humor and so forth. They got the protagonist, the antagonist, and somewhere they have the clash between the protagonist and that, and those are good storytellers. Yeah. I wish I could be that. Yeah. Anyways, Sue's got to leave. So, thank you for joining us. And we'll see you all back next week.
All right. See you.
Bye, little one. Goodbye, Iguan. Hi, little Iguan. Goodbye, little Sakamopi. Bye.